Welcome to the Nerdtastic in 3D podcast.
It's Nerdtastic in 3D. Oh, it's Nerdtastic in 3D. Yes, it's Nerdtastic in 3D. It's Nerdtastic
in 3D.
Go for it. And bong.
Bong.
For the fifth time. Bing. Welcome to Nerdtastic in 3D. I'm Jack Deckler.
I'm Sean Fennell. I've been missing in action for like 3 or 4 weeks, but I'm back.
Adam McFarlane.
I'm Jason Carter.
Josh LeBrot.
Who's not happy with us that we're on our fifth take.
No,
but hey,
not at all.
Hey, it's fifth take and we're here. And Sean's here. And holy shit, Sean's here.
Yay!
I still don't know how to think about that. But Sean's here. Our special guest is not here, so we'll rag on him later about that when he listens to this.
Or if he
So
shows
now
up
we
later.
actually have to talk, which I hope
Yeah.
is just as cool. But he was online last night playing some Call of Duty with me and a banana grabber who got to experience what it's like to play with some, let's call them professional Call of Duty players. And that, Adam, how was that for you, buddy?
So there was 12 of us in that game.
Yeah, 12
and
of us.
first of all, I've never played what scrimmage? What did we do last night?
a scrim.
Rugby?
A scrim. Where literally it's a private match. It's anything goes, but like everybody's just talking in this lobby, and I'm so overwhelmed.
Well, that's the thing. Anything doesn't go because
right,
they
but like they're all like
restrict it.
they're like no, explosives, no blah blah blah, no blah blah blah, and I'm like I don't even know what any of that stuff is, and I don't
Just
know
guns,
how to,
only
I don't-
headshots.
I don't know how to
Go.
turn it off. I don't know how to do any of this stuff. But it was really a game where there was no points. It didn't go towards any leveling. They really just played because they were all amazing and wanted to play against each other to get better, and it was intense to say the least. But I did kill xSynister a few times.
How'd you
so-
do?
of
How
which-
did you actually do?
Well, last place overall is pretty much where I came in on all of them. But it was a weird last place because it wasn't as frustrating as playing in like Xbox Live and coming in last. Like the game's going super fast and you're listening to all these guys talk and they actually have strategy and it's not as absolute chaos as it is playing with a bunch of random people on live. And so I came in. I literally came in absolutely bottom of the whole thing, and it
But you
wasn't
felt
so
good
bad.
about yourself,
I felt okay. We won. Our team won. And killing some of those guys that are prestige level 19
We are
and
happy
20
for
is
you,
pretty damn
old-timer.
satisfying.
Well, speaking of which, our old xSynister just called, and I think he's going to join us on the show if we want to give him a ring on Skype. And
Hoorah!
he could talk about how I think you actually did kill him, didn't you, Adam?
I did. I killed him a handful of times, and it was satisfying. It was very satisfying. Probably more satisfying than any other kill on Xbox Live I've ever experienced.
That's why. Now you know people love killing me. 'Cause
Yeah.
it's so satisfying.
I don't know, but you suck, so it's not
Yeah.
as big
And
of a
And then
deal.
you just hear,
I'm really loud.
like killing somebody that you know is amazing is really, really gratifying.
Hello.
Sinister, you there, buddy?
I am.
We were,
And the peasants rejoice.
yes, we were just, catch you up real fast, we just started recording, and we actually were just talking to Banana Grabber, who's here, and I was asking him what he thought about last night's scrim. He's never done that before, and what he thought about playing in that kind of like game and whatnot.
And not to beat a dead horse of what I already said, but I'm not quiet in a lobby very often, and I was literally texting Jack while you guys were all talking through what the rules were, and I was like, I've never been so overwhelmed in a video game setting as I was sitting in that lobby. I was the new kid, the half retarded kid that showed up in class and probably should be in the special ed course, but has somehow stumbled on to like AP whatever, and
That was the funniest part about that. As I'm sitting there, I'm like getting excited to play, and all of a sudden my phone's blowing up with text going, I don't think I belong in here. What do I do?
Because it was like, I mean, that whole everything is open and you have to make I didn't even make a class the first round. And so I literally had whatever the 5 classes that you would just start with. And I was like, oh no, I've made a huge mistake.
You did so well. I
it-
have to say, I think you killed me way more than I killed
That's
you.
what
in that game.
Jack was saying. I recall one of them, and and it was just the most satisfying thing I think I've ever experienced in video games. Because you guys were all, I don't even know some of those prestige icons. I don't know. I've never seen them. I was definitely the lowest level. And the best was I literally got picked last. You guys were divvying up teams. Banana Grabber literally got picked last.
Well, I think you were the additional player. Right?
Oh, yeah. Actually, I think I might have been the odd man
We
out.
gave them 6. we fought them 5 or 6,
was-
and Adam was 6 man.
And I mean, I played sports through high school, and you know, when we played kickball in elementary school,
Because that clearly translates all the time.
No, but I'm saying I've never been picked
You know?
last. I've never been picked last, and so I'm sitting there, and everyone's like, "No, I want, you know."
Welcome to
Blah, blah,
adulthood.
blah.
Exactly. Knocked you down a peg or two,
Yeah,
huh?
it
That's
was.
right.
It was quite an ego shock, but it was a lot of fun. I'd do that again. Absolutely.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. That was some good times. So Sinister, dude, great to have you back on the show.
Thank you. Thank you for bringing me back.
Everybody loved the show. Just to give you a heads up, I thought it was awesome. We still talk about it. There was some other things that came up from it. Some things that me and you talked about later that I know you wanted to bring up. Some things I wanted to dive into with you was a little bit about that we didn't get into was how did you get into gaming? Obviously, you have this background that's just pure badass. So where did you start with gaming? Did you just dive right into Call of Duty games or first person shooter games, or how did that start?
Yeah, good question. So first off, tell me if my audio is too loud. We didn't get a chance to test here, but
You're good.
am I good? Okay. So I think I brought it up last week that I had done some graduate work in forensic psychology. Well, my master's thesis was the effect of video games on the development in children. And so part of the thesis was to play some video games. So actually, that's where I started. I actually went out and
That's how it starts.
Were you a fan of? Oh wait, no, that's the who was the huge senator in? Was it Florida? I think that was the big ban on video games. It was a
Crickets.
Yes, crickets.
Crickets.
Everybody just never mind.
We
So,
all looked to Jason Carter for some reason.
I apologize
like,
for wasting
Never
everybody's
lived in
time.
Florida.
Continue
I know who
here.
you're talking
I know
about, but I
nothing
don't
about
know his name.
Florida politics.
No, not Florida politics. It's a U.S. thing. But
No,
again,
there was a senator.
fuck
who-
what I just said. It
remember
was stupid.
The emphasis on movies, and that was the big thing when I was doing my thesis was that there was such restriction on movies. And I don't know if you remember back in the day with Tipper Gore and the music and then on to the different movie restrictions.
That
and
I do know
PG and PG-13. Well, there was very little of that even a decade ago or 5 years ago with video games, and so I think it really had to do with.
We're laughing.
We're laughing at the cat in the background. Sorry.
Hang on, let me get rid of the cat. I was
But I like the cat. Oh, Stevie stole the show.
Lieberman?
Is it Joe Lieberman?
Yeah.
Yeah, Lieberman did it. He was a big advocate of banning video games.
What a cock.
Banning video games or banning violent video games?
You
I'm gonna
did
probably
correct
go.
me there.
I'm gonna go violent.
What about now? Where would he stand? on,
Pac-Man shall not be
Fruit
played by
Ninja.
any children.
Well, he blamed real
where you're
life
violently
violence.
slicing fruit that will lead to
He's-
violently slicing other things?
Well,
We're
he's
talking Fruit Ninja?
specifically-
Oh, yeah.
he's
Connect Fruit Ninja
specifically
only.
connected without any proof.
Scientific proof whatsoever.
Violent video games produced violent behavior. That was his thing, and he was going to attack all makers of all violent video games and all sellers of all violent video games, so that they pretty much can't make those types of games anymore.
That's the same logic that says candy makes sweet children.
I don't think it's quite the
That's
same.
why it was pretty terrible.
Same thing.
Where have you heard that?
Same thing.
Did you just make that up?
No,
Yeah.
it's the truth.
No,
It's
no,
a senatorial
guys,
truth.
No, it's not. It's not any truth.
I'm
No,
pretty
none
sure
of
that's what they teach you in Bakersfield.
If you go to the House or the Senate or whatever, and you go into that cavern, written on the wall in like gold ink is
Did they
that quote.
Is that in the
Jason
tunnels?
Carter is an idiot.
It's not what it
Jason.
says.
So-
Yeah, that's graffitied on the tunnels underneath.
Girls are made of sugar and spice.
Capitol building?
Yeah, under DC.
So Sinister, you back?
I am back.
Is the
Yeah, the
cat's
cat is
gone?
Yeah.
Oh,
the
what'd
cat-
you do to the
I
cat?
know, we like
The
the
cat's
kitty.
gone. The cat's not coming back, guys.
But
The cat's
cat
not coming back.
apparently-
Came back the
Did
very
a
next
black
day.
SUV come by and snatch the cat up and take him up?
So, wait, who was it that just said that comparing violent video games? What was the analogy?
It was
you used?
Joel.
Hold on a second. Jason Carter, would you
Jason
please
Carter,
catch him up?
yeah.
I'm saying that violent video games leading to violent behavior is the same logic as saying that candy makes sweet children.
What about sweet adults?
Well,
I'm
doesn't that
sweet
also
enough.
Wouldn't that argument apply to firearms as well? That a firearms makes you make you violent?
Oh, touche.
Or it makes you a
Would it-
firearm.
Oh, let's.
Firearms.
I think a better
fire.
analogy
Possessing one?
might be that
well,
a firearm actually makes you have an explosive personality.
God bless it, everybody.
Sinister poses a good question. You retaliate with that.
This is lame. Okay, go ahead, Sinister. Continue what you were
Back where
talking
we
about.
were, right?
No,
so
I think
I started
Sinister
playing video games,
yeah, I think
and they were fun. You know,
What were you testing when you played
in
them?
contrast to my thesis, they were actually quite enjoyable, and I think I just continued to play. But I was just mainly playing. I was afraid of multiplayer, and so I think the last game that I played before I jumped into the multiplayer was Uncharted 2, and it was just such a fun game. I just was afraid that I was going to go into multiplayer, and all of these kids were just going to destroy me, and I was going to feel miserable
Inadequate
and
and-
like being chosen last on a
It
football
hurts.
team.
It hurts.
It's
It hurts.
Completely
Pussy.
overwhelmed, and lack of knowledge prevented me from jumping in. Then I had a friend who who played all the time and talked about it, and a gamer tag BJ is bad, and he talked me into.
Hey, he was
playing.
on last night.
He was on last night. Yeah, he was in our lobby, and he talked me into playing and trying it out. And he's a poor guy. He would show me Modern Warfare 2 and show me, okay, go here, go in the plane, go, and I would get lost to get shot, and it was just a miserable experience. So what I did was I said, you know what, this is logic coding. All video games are logically coded programs, right? So if you do the same thing every time, the same thing's going to come out. Okay, so if you die here and everybody is lined up here, then you'll respawn here. So if I learn the consistencies in the math of the game, then I'll be better at it. And that's been my goal. That's the goal with my channel,
you're like
and that's
the
the goal with my videos.
You're like the Rain Man of Call of Duty. I had
Only-
no idea.
Only not retarded.
Yes.
Right? I mean, hopefully.
Well, I mean, we haven't met him in
I
person.
guess.
I mean,
Well,
I'm sorry if
okay.
Adam
It's
just
actually-
offended you.
It's actually a very astute observation because that's exactly how it works, and that's how the games are built and programmed. It's very illogical.
Kill streak.
system.
Definitely
So-
kill streak.
So with that, obviously you you went towards Call of Duty, which with you maybe is a little close to home, but I can see similarities why it would be probably addictive to you, and it definitely is to me. What led to the series of videos that you do on your channel? Because I find those really fascinating.
Yeah, so it kind of goes back to what I was just saying, is that if I could show, first off, for me, mimicry was always a way to improve in anything. If I saw someone playing golf well, then I tried to mimic what he was doing, or shooting. Call of Duty was very similar. So sometimes I show good players, but also I show tips on my channel on if you die here, or if you go here, you'll prevent this, and this is how you can change how you can use the coding, the logic coding of the program to work for you. If you go here, someone will come here. If you respawn here, then that means that they're over here. And that's just, it's kind of just a way to logically look at the game and prevent some frustration. Well, one thing that bothers me greatly in any competitive environment is to complain about something but do nothing to get better at it. Right.
Yep.
Golf
That
is a
never
great
happens.
Looking in your
That-
direction.
yeah,
all of
that'd
us
be-
looked at
That'd be me.
Fennel
God
style
damn
over here.
right?
Hey,
So we
yeah.
complain. How many times do you practice at the range and you go and you're like, I can't believe I hit a slice. This is ridiculous. I need a new club. I need a new ball. Right?
It's not my. There's no way it could be my fault.
right.
It's the
So,
I know I suck. I embrace that I suck at golf, by the way.
And just drink more? Is that what you do?
Yeah, dude. You just enjoy it with friends. As long as you don't take yourself seriously, you can enjoy anything.
I have to give great credit to Jason. He's hanging in on Call of Duty conversation.
This is the quietest he's been in a while.
I wouldn't say he's hanging in there.
Yeah, well, if the facial expression leads to
Winning
otherwise.
patiently.
But
No,
don't let that deter you. Don't let that deter you.
I do
Keep
think he
talking.
finds it interesting, your thought process behind it. I think.
One can hope.
Yeah, exactly.
Look, 4 out of 5 though isn't bad. Let's be honest.
Yeah, so
This isn't about Jason. There's a greater good
He
here.
needs what Jason needs is a cowbell. And so at
I need
some
more cowbell.
At some point, when the conversation about Call of Duty becomes too much, he gets to ring it, and everybody has to stop talking about it.
But he only gets
Foghorn.
2 rings.
He'll just say a really
podcast.
bad joke, and that'll be his cowbell.
I was hoping for the General Lee horn. Yeah, that's a good cue. But yeah, needless to say, I've loved your series of videos, and I think it's a great way to learn. I finally put out one again last night, and I mentioned you a bit to talk about that. The whole when people watch these videos, they go online to watch Call of Duty videos, getting away from so much. Whoa, they're so awesome! Whoa, how do you, instead of actually watching them and seeing
Right.
what a player's doing wrong. And past that, what's a player doing right to get those kills? I think people watch these and don't
I will
always
say,
do that.
after last week, I definitely hopped on your page and watched through a couple of them. And the one that sticks out in my head that I actually tried to apply was and I'm not going to even say it right, but it's the one you did at Stadium where you were highlighting, the decision or that thought process you do, the 4 steps.
Oh, yeah, right. The OODA loop.
OODA loop. That's what it was. OODA loop.
Listen.
OODA loop.
Is that the
That
one
is-
where you got our buddy Can of Cheese doing the wrong thing?
It was, actually.
Mark.
was that-
Mark was the
that was
example.
Can
of
of Cheese? That
Mark,
was-
yeah, Mark
oh,
was
that's
Mark
funny.
was basically doing the wrong thing, and Sinister called him out on it.
But no, that video was awesome. Where you're like, okay, you're going to come up to this. You have the choice of either going stairs or go up, and if you go down, through the main hallway, that's going to be more action. But if you go up the stairs, you're thinking this. It was awesome to see it broken down like that because I will say probably 75% of the time I just run around like an idiot. Yeah.
You know what? Bringing up that video is very interesting because I'll tell you, as a YouTuber or having a channel that if you're doing any video, even a podcast like this, something I learned in that video was, first off, that the OODA loop applies in any combat or sport or any competitive environment. Observe,
for sure.
orient, decide, and act. That is something they teach in the military. They teach it in aviation. They teach it to SWAT teams. When you make an entry, you observe where you're at, what you're doing, you orient yourself, you decide to make an action. And those steps, which you can have down are instinctual instead of thought out, propositional, then your reactions become quicker. And what I did in that video is I tried to get 25 minutes of a training class into 5 minutes of video. And I don't know if I was successful, but I learned from that
Yeah.
you give out what you can, and in hindsight, I wish I'd have broken that up into 3 or 4 videos, but I'm glad you got something out of
I
it.
tell
Thank
you what, though, it definitely was much more interesting than Playvlo or anybody from the
Yeah.
ages of 13 to 15 gives you in a YouTube commentary.
Yeah,
So
yeah. Where it's just like, hey, watch this guy, be really just watching someone critically analyze a video game was super, super interesting because it's a game that I've been playing, playing online and doing all that stuff and Halo or whatever. You don't see someone come at it with that critical eye where you're like, this is why people do this. And these are decisions that are going to affect what happens the next step and what happens in the next juncture in the map. And as you're approaching stuff, it was just a very, very interesting way to look at it.
Gosh, I appreciate that. That's very kind words. Is this Adam talking?
Yes.
I'll
It's
tell
a grabber.
you, obviously something paid off last night. You were kicking my
managed to kill him a bunch. You should have messaged him afterwards and be like, dude, your techniques work. You died a lot.
Yeah, I OODA looped that. I totally OODA looped you.
So
How nervous were you jumping in with those guys? Listen, I'm nervous when playing with those competitive players. Those guys are really good players.
Like an online video game setting, it's so anonymous that I normally don't give a shit. Like it really is. You don't care. I don't even look at levels, and literally showing up in a private match where people have been invited into this and looking at the thing and scanning and realizing, yes, I'm the bottom. I am the lowest. And then it was the getting, you're picked last. That was another one. But literally, I was texting Jack during the whole thing, and I'm like, dude, this is intense. I don't know if I can handle this. And then once it started and listening to people talk, and people were talking through the strategy and stuff, you just kind of get sucked into it, and it was a ton of fun. I would absolutely play it again.
That's great.
Yeah.
No, that's great. That's really, for me, that's the competitive. See, okay, the older you get, and as you get older, competitive opportunities shrink. Right?
Exactly.
So I play tennis. I've competed in table tennis. I've done some, regular tennis.
Now Jason's interested, by the way.
And I find that, so hand-eye coordination, fast twitch type things I enjoy. And so this is just another way for me it helps me play table tennis and regular tennis better and shoot better. Just anything that actually engages those motor functions, hand-eye coordination are beneficial for me, and that's how I look at it.
Yeah. No, it was anytime you guys are playing, I'm.
It was funny when I messaged Sinister, Adam. This is before you jumped in. I messaged him. I said, "Hey," or actually, Sinister messaged me, and we're talking. I said, "Hey," he's like, "You want to come over and play?" Because he knows I'm into that. I'm like, of course I go, but here's the deal. I have Adam with me.
I didn't realize.
I did say this.
Oh my God.
No, I didn't. I said I was like, I have Banana Grabber with me, and he's going to be low on the totem pole. Are you cool with that?
Yeah. Because I didn't want to walk into a thing and be like the asshole who brought the fucking Banana Grabber that's running around and screwing up everybody's strategies, and he's that guy running in and just screwing up spawn points.
But he
and we quickly put you on.
Yes, yeah, exactly. And he very quickly just responded to me with, if he gets in there and he's not having a good time, he's more than welcome to leave after 4 minutes.
No, I after the
play
first
this.
game where I was the worst,
Well, we'll get you in again.
it was a different.
Bravo. Where were you?
I was on earlier, and then I left.
Yeah.
I left by like 9:30. I had lots of TV shows I needed to catch up on, so
Adam,
last night was a
you are
DVR
welcome
night for me.
anytime. There's no real death in this game, and who cares if you lose, right?
Yeah,
so
no,
just
and it was-
you get better.
But it was one of those things where like I was saying, I think I even said it was that like I was the bottom rung, but the team won, and it was I was so much less frustrated than a game. We played with DB something. I don't know.
There's a couple guys who we play with normally.
Right.
Like DB's one
So
of them.
DB I played with
BJ's one of them.
with Jack the night before, and we played a level where we won, but it was so absurdly frustrating how like we were just getting killed and they were camping. It was just there wasn't this kind of unified team thing, and it feels like you really are two teams against each other, not just one really good person cleaning house.
Yeah,
And
that really makes it a lot more fun.
It was
No, that's the thing.
I've never played
I've-
video games like that, and it was fantastic.
It's
It was
why
awesome.
I got into FPSs because of that competitive edge. What
Yeah.
Jason said, when you get older, like I can't. I'm just not in shape anymore to play basketball. Like
you don't
I'd
go down to
love
the local court.
No, I'm
and-
not doing 6-on-6. So that to me is like a 6-on-6 kind of thing that I love. I just
Yeah.
eat that stuff up. But
No, it was a blast.
So let's go on to something sinister that I Fennel over here had asked me about after listening to the show. He had a couple questions he wanted to ask you.
Oh, absolutely. Wait. Fennel is there?
Yeah, I'm
He
here.
is
I
actually
finally came
here.
back, yes. Hello. How are you doing? I'm doing well. I'm extremely busy at work.
Did you
Thank
answer your own question?
Yes. No, whatever. Yeah, so I was actually watching the Secrets of the SEAL Team 6 thing the other day, and when Osama Bin Laden was assassinated, I actually kind of had mixed emotions about the celebration that happened afterward, and I was kind of wondering how your reaction was to that announcement. Being that you have that sort of a background and you've been in some of the circles that do that kind of work, did it resonate with you in any way?
Yeah, that is really it's really cool that you would even have that. There is this overwhelming. Here's my take on it. So I have a problem with societal movement morality wise these days, and I think that we a lot of times see war as this football game where it's us versus them, and you lose the gritty, the death, the sadness, the heartbreak. There is no winner in a war or combat.
Home team!
Right? So I think you hit on something very, very deep, and something that I really hold dear to my heart is that there is this. Okay, so I was sitting. I'll never forget. I had actually, I think I found out about his death on Twitter, and then I turned on the news, and my son and I watched it. And initially, there was this sense of elation, like, okay, maybe closure. I think would be a better word. Just finally, it's about time, right? Mm-hmm. And then you are right. There's this sense of celebration that it was occurring that felt like that everything was okay now, and that we're celebrating in a death, which is very tragic.
Not only
even
celebrating
with
in a
him.
death, but we're celebrating in a murder, however justified or unjustified people feel. Like I felt like we were celebrating murder. Mm-hmm. And I felt like one of the takes that I thought is I thought that we were trying to found this country on better morality than that, and it just kind of made me feel weird
I agree.
watching all of that celebration in the street.
So
It's kind of like when Gaddafi got killed too.
Yeah, and I'm wondering what other
probably
countries.
I probably won't totally be in your corner with maybe where you're going with that from what I'm hearing for your intonation. I will say this, that there are times that their evil is real. Okay, and I can tell you that because I've seen it. I've seen people who have murdered children, and I've interviewed them and interrogated them, and I will tell you that you look into the heart and soul of somebody and see it empty. And that person tells you that if I get out again, I'll kill the next child I see. Evil really does exist. And there are times the only way to benefit society as a whole is to remove that. Does that mean that it's something we desire or wish for? No, I don't think that that's true. Is it celebration and a murder? I don't know. I think that there was definitely that level, and sometimes, like I said, I think there can be this sporting mentality or competitive mentality about it. But the fact of the matter is, I think that it was iconic in the fact that, okay, if you do bad things, if you murder several thousand people, there is a consequence. And if we get that out of it, maybe some benefit can come out. I do not think operationally Osama bin Laden was important anymore. I think it was more iconic.
He was the face. He was the face on this, and so
yeah, I can tell you directly that having spoken with people in the community, he was useless. He was pointless, other than just being an icon. But I'll tell you what, wars have been won from removing icons or important figures in combat. I don't think that this will be the case. I think it just spurs us on to more problems, especially with the terrorism movement that we're seeing now.
Right. I kind of got the feeling watching it that, like, okay, we're celebrating, but I don't feel like the terrorism movement is burdened by this news.
I think it's what Jason said. I think it was very evident to everybody that to be able to live the way he was living was that he had to disconnect to a point of he wasn't involved anymore.
Yeah, he was impotent. He was an impotent leader, but I think for whatever reason, I think it brought some closure to a certain group of people, especially those who'd been victimized directly.
Yeah,
absolutely. So, I think, Sean, that was your main question, right?
Yeah, that was my main question.
How do you feel, Sean?
Well, I feel my explanation that I gave you was very black and white. I don't know how I feel. I haven't taken the time to really analyze exactly why I feel uncomfortable with the entire situation. But it makes me feel uncomfortable. And I don't know if it's the celebration aspect. I just don't know how I'm interpreting that. I'm just interpreting it as we're publicly celebrating some big thing that happened to do with someone being killed. And I'm curious how other countries view us seeing that on the news.
Do you think maybe you would have been more happy in that scenario? It's don't celebrate, but you also don't have to mourn him.
Right.
Just sort of the acceptance. Hey, dude, we got him.
Yeah,
I mean, like Jason said, let that closure sort of happen.
Yeah, you put it in the perspective of closure, and celebrating closure is fine and good. But it felt like there were parties going on the news, and that felt weird to me.
Okay, then let me retract what I said. We are definitely in agreement. I feel the same way. I don't know how I feel, but I do feel that it was over celebrated, and so maybe we are more in agreement. I think that. Listen, I am more appalled that. Let's see, who's my son watching? Oh, Miley Cyrus or Justin Bieber.
I'm appalled by both of them, too. we share that.
Than soldiers in the field. I have a problem with that. And that's my daily... But you know what? That's the way it's always been. We've always put our military fighting forces, police, law enforcement, firefighters kind of in this... Because what it does, if we focus on them, we have to admit that there are bad things that happen. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of hard to be happy. And we all really desire just to be happy. I think that's kind of become almost everyone's motivation for everything they do. Let's always be happy. And the more you seek happiness, the more you have to push out and pretend that those things don't exist.
Yeah.
And so, I don't know, maybe that's finding happiness instead of really facing the terrible situation.
That's why I'm playing video games all the time.
So it's funny that you bring up the concept of closure with Osama bin Laden, because to me, I think you have to dive deeper into why everyone in America had a feeling of closure, which is that, more importantly, somebody along the lines brought up this open, awkward feeling that you needed closure. So I'm not saying
Do you
Obama.
think
I'm saying
closure was forced on us? Is that where you're going?
I'm not saying, yeah, well, it's worth analyzing, right? Like, I'm not saying that Osama bin Laden didn't do terrible things. He very well might have. and there may be documented proof of that. But I think there's one thing you can definitely say is that the media is single-handedly responsible for overhyping Osama bin Laden into basically Satan. He basically became the figurehead of all that is evil in the world. It wasn't just he's the head of Al Qaeda. He's responsible for
It certainly feels like bigger news than Saddam being captured.
Right. It's just I don't know if people were celebrating that. Hey, we got the guy who was the mastermind behind 9/11 or whatever it was. I'm probably getting my facts wrong, but it was more that hey, we're celebrating the fact that we've been told and forced to believe that this man is basically the embodiment of everything that's evil in the world. And so for me, I sympathize with how you're feeling, Sean. Like, there is a sentiment of like, well, yeah, a man died here today, and the man may have been soulless. He also may have been a person who really strongly believed in what he believed in. Now, I don't believe it's right to take human life I would never take a life because of my own beliefs. However, I don't know if painting this person out as the poster child of evil is the answer either.
If I could say, I would love to revisit your last statement in a second here about you'd never take a life. I wonder if that is that panacea? Is that always, or in certain circumstances, would you reconsider that? And this is your show, and I don't want to take time away from you. You're the boss.
No, you are a
Tell
guest
me where
here.
we go,
You are a guest here.
I will tell you, in the military, we have suffered many, if not losses, but lack of complete victories or concrete victories. I mean, if you go back to you can go back to Vietnam and then Korea. I mean, arguably that we not no closure there. The first Iraq War, we did not capture Saddam Hussein. We stopped, and maybe that was a smart, intelligent move in hindsight. And then we have the seeking and attempted capture of Osama bin Laden. You have and then we had Black Hawk Down in Somalia, and then Abid, whoever, I forget his name, but he was once again lack of closure. Our soldiers die. Nothing's ever done. I think, if nothing else, if you're going to put yourself emotionally in a combat zone or combat situation, you have to feel that what you're doing is going to lead to something positive and something good. So maybe iconically it was a closure in that sense. I think for me, I don't think it brings closure to anything meaningful other than emotionally for our troops. And you're right, media. Listen, if you rely on the media to be to get your opinion on military movement or what's really going on in America,
or even your moral compass.
Yeah, because I believe everything Fox News says.
I think you'll be left wanting. But the fact of the matter is, I think if nothing else, for our soldiers, there was this sense of, okay, at least we finished it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm definitely sure there was a certain percentage of the CIA who was like, see, I told you. And then somebody in the back went, what, that it took you like 10 years to do it? I think there was probably a certain group where this is my feeling on it, that a certain group, it turned at some point, where Jason's saying we made them into this. I'm sure at a certain point it turned into a totally different battle for them, where it turned into, on top of the media, there was a group of other people hounding these people to be like, you need to get him. Regardless if he's doing nothing in a cave, not able to talk, you need to you need to get him
a symbol
somehow.
Of success.
Exactly. And that was for any president. I'm sure if Bush Jr. could have did it, trust me, I for a fact I know he would have did it. And I think Obama, there was an added pressure on top of them. And I would honestly, that's some tape footage I would love to hear. The talks when he came into office, the first talks he had in briefings of what is it going to take to find this one person.
I guess the other thing, there's another facet to it for me, and like comparing the capture of Saddam Hussein to the assassination of Osama bin Laden, and I just get this impression that there was no attempt to capture Osama bin Laden. It was a It was a
Breach and clear.
Yeah, they were just like, we want him out of the picture, period. And maybe not even an attempt to,
Do you feel that was the
Get 'em.
case after knowing the stuff that you've read on the news, and I'm not sure who you've talked to, but Senator, what are your feelings on that? Do you feel that was the case?
I have a much more problem with the removal of Saddam Hussein than I do with Osama bin Laden, which is interesting that you'd bring it up that way. I think heads of state are difficult to. I think that we owe them much more respect, if nothing for the person, for the icon. Because if we're going after a head of a state or country, regardless of what he's doing, if you don't go through appropriate channels, what you get is just anarchy in the world. Osama bin Laden was an entry. Having looked at the plans of the House, I think that was entry with extreme prejudice. And in that situation, you are. So what do you say? Which special operational unit member do you say, okay, if you go in, try to take him alive. If he has a gun, still try to take him alive. You might die. You might not see your family, but you know what? We want him alive. That does happen. But in this case, I don't think that the value of having him alive. In fact, we can look at how they buried him at sea. They didn't want that physical presence. They wanted him just to go away as an icon. And I think that any dynamic entry into a reinforced structure, especially when you've had a mechanical failure in one major transport system, one of their helicopters had some issues. They made entry. They're dealing with armed combatants. They're engaging them. They're putting them down. You go into a room. You complete your mission, and you exit the premise. I think that's became their mindset. I think that's the safest mindset when you're entering a reinforced structure like that. When you're pulling somebody out of a hole and then you go through the whole thing and then hang them, I don't know. Maybe I have more of an issue with that.
That's why I wanted to talk to you about it, because you have a unique insight into these things that I respect.
So Sinister, like something to you. You posed some different questions to me after listening to a couple shows, and there was one show in particular where you posed some questions. I wondered if you wanted to go into that and ask some of those questions to the group or to some individuals about it.
Yeah, okay, so I ask you questions all the time. Can you be more specific? Well,
and I felt like,
in the house?
Yeah. You seemed to. We never got into it online, but I know you kept wanting to bring it up, and I kept holding you back, going, "Wait for the show." So it's the show. So yeah, I'm curious what was on your mind, because we didn't talk about it.
Right. Okay. So some people had expressed, some pretty strong opinions. First off, I've used firearms most of my life. I hate guns. Okay, I'm not a gun nut. I don't read gun magazines. They are to me as useful as a claw hammer. Okay, they are what they're intended to do. If I was a carpenter and carried around a circular saw, then it would be the same to me.
That's a horror movie.
Right. Well, let me tell you, I was in a shooting situation. If I'd had a circular saw, I would have chopped the guy's head off. But right.
I'm just glad cops don't carry on circular saws. That would be
a scary sight.
That's a lot of
whole
cleanup.
different.
Sorry to segue off, but that's
thing.
some scary shit.
Spread them.
A whole bunch of logistics cleaning up after that.
What is more scary, the racking of a shotgun or the turning on of a circular saw?
Turning on a circular saw.
You don't have time to anticipate that.
I mean, especially if you have a corded one where you have to constantly be looking for outlets. Like, frankly, that's just a logistical
you
nightmare.
get right there and it unplugs. You're like, damn it.
I have always been fascinated by an emotional reaction to firearms. I have seen just as many homicides with hammers, with knives, with vehicles, with use of just your hands than firearms. And to me, if I put a gun in a locker next to in my house, there are dangers. So we don't lock up our knives, and yet there are a kitchen full of deadly weapons in my kitchen. And there's this mystical approach to firearms, and I'm just fascinated anytime that I can have a conversation with someone as intelligent and as well spoken as someone who does have an issue with it. And so I think that's where I was coming from. You and Jack had mentioned that you and your wife were having a debate, and I think that Jason had some issues with the firearm. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm fascinated that the mystique behind a firearm, and if you could explain why, if you care to.
For me, that's really, really simple, Jason. I think it comes down to the idea that, yes, you in your life have seen homicides with hammers. You might have seen a homicide with, a 2x4. But I think if you gave a 2x4 to a 3-year-old, they're not going to be able to murder someone. If you give a firearm to a 3-year-old, they certainly will.
They could murder a younger child by accident.
With a 2x4?
Yes.
What about kitchen knife? How protective are you with the knives in the home?
Definitely. I would say, probably average, right? They exist in a
drawer. In a drawer.
But you're
in
not
a chopping block.
You're
right?
not afraid of murder. You're afraid of someone hurting themselves to the point of serious damage, right? Like that would be why you would protect those things away.
Sure. Either way, I think I think it's more of the idea of a risk versus reward. That's kind of what we keep talking about with that particular subject. And I think for me, it all comes down to the idea of a gun. What purpose does a gun serve?
It certainly has limited uses as a
you
tool,
fire
right?
a bullet at a target. I'm not going to say
You're
what
not
that
cutting
target is.
tomatoes with your gun. You're right.
Sure, and a knife is something that can be used for multiple purposes, yes, but it has a function in the home. For me, a gun has no function in the home, with the exception of potentially self-defense, and I concede that definitely to you, Jack. You talked about that. However, the risk for me, and this is just my own opinion, of a child potentially finding that or something happening with that is too great to overcome. It's basically the risk is a higher than the reward would be to have that, or than the sense of satisfaction that I might be more protected, let's say.
That makes a lot of sense to me. And like I said, I look at them. I don't like firearms, and I'll tell you why. It's funny. I took my son shooting today to the range. Okay, and he's 10. And for me, we have them in my house, and they are locked up. But if there is an ever situation, I want him to know how to be able to handle them safe. But for me, it's a tool. It doesn't hold this I don't like how gun oil or cleaning your weapon or loading them or the noise and all of these things that go with just like a circular saw that make them, for me, not this mystical thing. And I think the more that you use them, I think the more you realize that. But if you don't have a use for it, I totally get it. And I totally understand that.
There's not a degree of mysticism about it. This is an extreme situation, but let's take an Iron Maiden, for example. Let's say if you have like a love for ancient torture devices.
Oh, I thought you meant the group.
So did I too. I was like, whoa.
I'm with you, Jason.
They're pretty bad.
Maybe a guillotine would be a better example. But let's say, that serves no particular function other than to
tomatoes.
Well, yeah, you can make some sandwiches with a guillotine. Iron Maiden, I don't know what you're pulling out of that.
Jack, I will say that for home defense, a firearm is usually a poor choice.
Oh no, and I understand why. And
What's a better choice?
No, I think I said in the show how I would keep it in my home, and I'm sure this is the same for you, Sinister, is in such a way that it takes a little process for me to get to it if I had it in my home.
Right.
And I joked with my dad as a kid about that. I go, it's going to take you like 10 minutes to get that out and loaded to fire at anybody. And he just always looked at me with a stern face. He goes, won't be a problem.
Well, listen, through and through damage is an issue. So through and through damage is firearm or rounds that go through walls and connect with targets in other rooms. That's a real issue in a home. And if you don't have appropriate frangible projectiles, then you shouldn't be shooting in a house anyway. I would say
frangible?
Something that breaks apart on contact.
That's an awesome word.
I think he was going to call you out and realize, no, he's probably smarter than me.
No, I really was just trying to have an interjection before we went too far down the frangible road to make sure that I knew what that meant.
Oh, bravo, sir.
I just wanted to jump back real quick and kind of finish my thought. I think if you were to have something in your home that served no other purpose other than to cause damage to the human body, or damage to a target of some sort, I might argue that I might have the same potential issue with a bow and arrow that I might have as a gun. I don't believe it's specifically like, oh my gosh, there's guns in the home, I'll never do that. It's more of the idea of a risk versus reward thing. And I live my life, if someone, Jack brought up the idea of someone broke into your home, my philosophy would be, take what you need to take, get out of here, just don't harm my family.
Right. Yeah, no, I get that. I think that's very wise. I think if it's not a tool that you would use in your life, then, more power to you. I think that even with Jack, I probably am somewhere in the middle. I think with Jack, a baseball bat or a flexible baton would serve more purpose for home defense. But Yeah, no, I appreciate you answering that. I just
9-iron to the temple can do some damage. I don't know. I'm just saying.
And I'm
club head speed on a
100%
golf
sure
club.
in most of those scenarios that would be, even if I had a gun in the house, I'm sure it would come down to that at some point. But once again, in my household, that is never going to happen. So the debate ended very fast in my home, where I think, sister, we were talking about it. I'm like, you have to have them for your work. So I think it's a different scenario for you. But I do commend you for taking your son to the range at this young age. That's something I try to get across in my message, is that my father did the exact same thing. And it was mostly, more than anything else, not to instill a passion of guns to me, but in the rare case of Jason's fear that I got it out, or I had to see it, or whatever else, that there was never an accident. I realized if there was a bullet still in the chain, oh, look, the clip's not in, and think in my head that there's no bullet. You know, things like the little things like that obviously kids, if they got handed a firearm, might not think about.
You know, it's a good point. I mean, I think you have to have a healthy level of respect for anything that's potentially dangerous. Let's go back to the circular saw, for example. You would want to teach your child the same degree of respect or understanding of this tool that you would a firearm. You know, you don't ever want to touch this, you know, kind of particular part of the circular saw. You don't ever want to put your finger on a trigger unless you are ready to pull it.
Funny thing you said the circular saw, because that's where I was going to circle back to.
Circle.
See what I did there? Oh, I didn't do there. Jason did for me. I have more fear. A couple years ago when I was building some bookshelves, I had more fear around the circular saw than I would if somebody handed me. If Sinister walked in the room right now with his Glock and handed it to me, I'd have 2 seconds. I'd have it in my hands, looking down the sights, pulling the clip out, all this kind of stuff. Not scared. The circular saw scared the shit out of me every time I'm not even. There's no joke at all. Every time I put a piece of MDF on there to slide it down, there was this level of fear to me that I'm just not used to feeling. And I know what it does, and I know how to use it. That thing scared the living hell out of me, and I don't know why. It's got defense mechanisms and whatnot, but I don't know. It's even getting me like all worked
I am
up
in your
here
corner
thinking
with this
about it.
one. Those
they're fucking
saws
terrifying.
of any type, electrical, scare me to death.
And I have a
'em.
shitload of respect for a circular saw. I'll tell you that much.
Maybe we should just get flashbangs for home protection. Just blind everyone and get the F out.
Have you seen those table saws
Those
though?
are
That'll
loud. Have you ever been flashbanged in real life?
Oh God, no! Please, no.
You've been flashbanged?
That's a part of
Don't you
life.
have
It
to be?
is okay. So they use these what they call training bangs, and
Wait,
they're
tranny
less
bangs?
loud than the actual ones, and they are so bad. You have to open your mouth, otherwise your head will vibrate and could cause damage.
Oh
It's
my gosh.
horrible.
Do those?
Yeah, it
how
is
do
bad.
those? I just out of curiosity, real fast. They don't release any kind of shrapnel
No,
when they blow up. Is that how those work?
Very okay. So they're enclosed in some in a container, so there might be some minimal, but it's very similar to your typical firework that would explode.
Okay, so like chucking an M80 in the
So-
room.
So
Right.
you just had to experience. Is that kind of how that went? Like they were like, hey, I'm just gonna put you in
Time
this
to
room.
learn. Time
We're
to
gonna
learn how
throw
this
in here."
feels.
Is that how
They
that
do that
works?
in the army too.
So we spent a day. Doing entries into an abandoned house, and what you do is you have, blue and red forces, and you take turns being the other guy. And so you'll have one
Wanna
or
be
two
the other
suspects
guy.
barricaded in a house, and you'll do entries, and you'll shoot them with these wax bullets.
It's like John
Those
Carter.
hurt, right? Real bad,
They hurt. They hurt
It's like
bad.
John Carter, the red and blue.
like a frozen
So-
paintball.
Red and blue.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go on.
I didn't see John
You'll
Carter.
be feeling red and
Sorry.
blue afterward.
So we were doing entries into this house. I wish I could see your faces.
Oh, this!
Serious.
I'm telling everybody this time the video will work, and we will get this up with video. But
It's a
yeah,
big
go
promise.
on.
That's
So
a big promise.
that is a big promise. So 2 teams.
On my turn to be part of the Op 4, the opposition forces, I was inside the house, and they made entry, and it just happened to be the training syllabus where they used bangs to come
Syllabus.
in, and
It's like so innocuous word.
I would
It's just a
think-
So did you have? I'm
They-
curious too, for just knowing you and the gameplay side of things. Now, Did you have a defensive position waiting to just spray them as they came through the door?
I was in an attic, and I'd cut out a part of the roof, and I had was
look
looking
at
down
you.
on the,
Do they let you just? I mean, in these trainings, they like, okay, you just need to bunker down. And,
You need to be a badass
do
in
whatever
there.
you want, and you're like, all right, I'm gonna tunnel.
Hide
into
and kill
I'm gonna
them.
tunnel into the attic, and I'm going to.
Your mission is to hide and kill them as they enter.
Sweet. That's crazy.
Because if they define what you do, then it becomes too
Ritual.
restricted.
formulaic and you know.
You know,
where they're
sometimes
gonna
the greatest creativity is okay. Just use your mind, be dark for a minute.
This
you
is
know,
what
and
I
so-
wanted to hear him say. Like, no, I got up in the attic and made a special hole that didn't exist.
Did
I
you
used
have
my
your-
circular
you had your
saw.
circular
I
saw?
stayed there for a week.
There was not okay. So there is nothing worse. So I thought I was the man.
I
had
bet
my
you did.
spot.
You had a spot. All your other
I
buddies
had
are
my
like, you're looking at
spot,
him.
You know, I had my training weapons. I was good to go. They could not get me front back. What I didn't realize was that in attics, typically there's this vent on the side, and so however they determined that I was in there through these sound detectors or thermal imaging, they had someone go up a ladder and they. At the same time, one pried the thing and two threw two bangs in.
Oh God.
And
Was it behind
there's
you
the-
or in front of
there's-
you?
Say again?
Doesn't
Were you?
matter.
I'm just curious if you saw these things coming at your
Oh,
face
no,
or were they
so
behind
that's where I
you?
was going. So there is nothing worse. Okay, there is this moment that we all have in life where something either strikes us. Well, this for me, it was this moment where it was ting, 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 that I knew what was about to happen. All
We
I
do
did was
in the
open my mouth,
video
shut my eyes, put my hands over my
Open
ears,
my
and
mouth, shut my eyes, and put
Did the little grenade icon come up above your head with an arrow?
Yeah, you're close. You're close.
It was awful. It was terrible. I don't
Was
know
that
whether
enough
it was
to,
an
like, put
enclosed
you
space
out?
or not made it worse. It was terrible.
Like, how did you like just roll over and go? I'm out. I'm
Hey
dead.
guys, hands up! Don't shoot.
Think
Hands up.
Call of Duty for the rest of the game, you're white out.
Oh, did they come in shooting you?
Yeah, did they shoot you afterward just to add
Yeah,
insult
well,
to
no, they
injury?
came in. They didn't have to shoot me. I was in a fetal
He was in
position.
the fetal.
I was just wondering if they did. Just
It
'cause.
just
would
cried.
sound cooler
Sweep
if I
and
was
clear.
tough and said, "No, I ate it."
Yeah, yeah. I came out blind and shooting anything, but no, I
Yeah,
was
man, that was
fetal
horrible.
and
Dear God.
rolling around. That's crazy.
Oh, dude, awesome stuff. I mean, that was your biggest sort of question to us and our thought
It
on the
I
firearms.
appreciate that. Yeah, it was. Thanks. I appreciate you answering that.
It's something that keeps coming up. That was a pretty popular topic.
You can find a post of ours on Reddit.
Can
you can.
Can
Well,
you? Or
better
did it
than
get
that.
shuffled so deep in the
Actually,
deck that it may not be there.
Better
anymore?
than that, you can actually see it on YouTube now with some very comical editing
Nice.
of our
Oh, is that that
entire.
episode?
It is of our entire group. I don't know, Sinister. Did you even see it yet?
I haven't, but now you can link it in this video. This is great.
Oh, we can.
Oh,
How about
Very
that?
true.
I
So
actually just like the comps because I don't think Sean, you were there that one episode, were you?
No, but I did see the comps. That
Yeah,
he
so
did,
just
which were
Sean
pretty
randomly
funny.
It was.
comped in.
I love the
everyone.
picture
Creepy
of
guy.
the four of us, and then
At
Sean,
Disneyland
like,
and Sean just with a beer.
I am pretty creepy.
Hey, before we move on, while we're on the subject of YouTube channels and videos and things, we want to give you a proper shout out here, xSynister. And can you go ahead and tell us your official channel name on YouTube so people can check you out?
Yep, it is just exactly what you said. xSynister. That's XSYNISTR on YouTube, and the same at Twitter. And you'll find me there. You'll find my videos. Let me know what if you have any input in what you'd like to see. I also do intros. So if you have a channel that you're looking to have an intro done for, hit me up and
We might know one.
No, we got one coming. All right, we got one coming.
Yeah,
we
sure.
got that covered up.
Well, I think we can all say unanimously here that we have gone to your channel and seen a lot of the commentaries that you've done, and it is really, truly unique and fresh approach to something that I will personally say is overdone, which is people doing commentaries for Call of Duty videos, but you bring something truly unique and special to it. So well done, Jace.
Yes,
Guys,
it's,
thanks,
it's
I
also
appreciate
it's also pretty funny too when you see a video and you're actually just watching it, just to actually watch it, and all of a sudden you're like, "Oh, hey, that's me!" And then like you see your name like running around.
Same feeling.
Unless you're Mark, and you're the example of don't do this.
That's what I was waiting for the banana grabber. Just don't be the banana grabber.
Just don't.
Okay,
Just don't
complete
be the
tangent.
banana
Oh, wait a minute. That's a great idea. I
Uh-oh.
do have that game recorded. With him in it.
So,
Here's
so,
what not to do.
complete and utter tangent here for a second. I was watching on Devour recently. There was a NBA or basketball bloopers thing that happened.
I watched that.
And it's basically just a bunch of people like, oh, I go up to dunk it and the ball slips out of my hand, jazz like that. But there's a few of them that
jazz like that.
There's guys that actually funny stuff.
It's just jazz like that. Just jazz like that.
Is it funny?
Yeah, it's funny. It's a funny statement.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Criminy.
So
Bunch of
in this video, there's a bunch of stuff like basketball players that fall into cameramen and kind of fall into the front row of people or whatever. And there's this one moment that I'm watching, and there's this guy who's running full sprint and just crashes into the front row of these people sitting courtside, and this one guy turns right to camera like a little girl squealing. Ah! And here's the best part. It's the head of technology for DreamWorks Animation.
Do you remember what the announcer says for that clip?
No.
What is that old lady doing?
And it's a guy.
That's the problem. Everything will end up on the internet.
Yeah.
Anything you do in a public situation will probably end up on the
You're up
internet.
there. You're up
This
there.
is you're up there. You might want to
Good
watch
Lord.
episode
I
12
know.
on YouTube.
Oh, no.
So
Oh, no.
so Sinister, the beauty of this show is that now it's not all about you.
Oh.
We can actually get to fun
So we're going to
stuff.
talk about a nerd thing?
And this nerd thing comes from one of our good time old friends, John, who's a friend of me and Josh and some of our other friends. He posted a very nerdtastic topic that I know Sean's going to love, and I think
love it.
Sinister, I know you love these kind of off the wall questions. So his question, and I'll pose this for everybody in the room, was, would you want to live in a world where superheroes and villains were real? Now, the subtopics for this, as he wrote in his email here, this is the whole nine, though. Not just the coolness of people flying around and solving crimes and stuff. It would also include potential world-ending events happening almost randomly, and evil bastards doing their darndest to destroy entire cities, take over the world, or demons being summoned and such.
If it meant living in Hero Season 3, no, I'm out.
That's what, that was my question. Is which? Yeah. Well, we can talk. We'll dive into it.
I mean, we live in some pretty hectic times, and there are some amazing creations out there, but the concept of superheroes is in distant future stuff. And he added a bit of a twist to this. What if there were a chance that you could become a superhero yourself, like winning lottery odds? Would that sway your decision? Jason, Carter.
It's a good question.
Because he's not
It
asking.
looked like it
He's
was
not
a good
asking.
question.
Per se, do you want to be a superhero? He's just saying, would you want to live in a world like that?
Well,
So,
that's part one.
I'm
Yeah,
gonna
part two.
I'm gonna go deep on this for a second. I think I'm gonna bring this back to our Osama bin Laden conversation, which is the one thing that people get anytime there's tension or controversy is an overwhelming sense of satisfaction upon the completion, or as we said earlier, the closure of situations like that. So when there are extreme circumstances, like when you take a supervillain and this supervillain has the ability to obliterate an entire city and tens of millions of people's lives are at stake. And if in that moment a superhero comes along and saves the day, that is something that is binding to human history. That is something that will bind us together as brothers forever, that we experience that. Take World War II. It's a perfect example. The concept of band of brothers. There's these people that ran through the trenches and tried to defeat this evil of the Nazis and were forever connected in a way because they went through this ultimate tension, the ultimate conflict that the world has been faced with. They went through it, not only went through it, they prevailed. And for me, I could see
They
that.
already superheroes.
What's that?
They're already superheroes.
Right. But for me, I could see that being something that really, truly brings the human spirit together and connects you in a way as an average citizen that maybe you wouldn't normally get to experience in life.
I guess I'm wondering.
So you're saying yes. That's what I took from that.
I'm just wondering how often the world is going to be threatened if
I don't
if
think
there
they're going
are
to give.
supervillains
There's
and
no
superheroes.
It's
Well,
going to
let's
be.
give this one a fair chance. So Jason, Josh LeBrot,
Yes.
what are your thoughts?
Well,
And does the sway
it-
play into that at all?
It
to you?
certainly would make life pretty exciting, if you will. Always wondering what's up around the corner, because
That's one way to put it.
you never know.
What you gonna get? Couldn't resist.
thought you were going somewhere else.
Sorry, that really got me. Actually, I don't know. I think So the question is, would you live in that world? Sure. Honestly, I would. I guess if I had the choice, like if you knew which one was which, I'd like to give that one a shot, just to go ahead and mix things up in my life. Like
You can't turn back.
no,
Like, are you saying?
There's no going back to the
Are you
time
saying
portal.
like they're both exist in a parallel world? Like you can choose to live in non-super world, or you can choose to go to Chicago
Now
where
we're
everyone has
talking about-
superpowers.
Now we're doing some fringe stuff right here.
yes, that's how I'm taking this.
And
Okay,
you would
we'll
choose
go
to go
there.
to
Because-
Chicago.
Okay, we'll go
because-
there.
I would
mean,
guess if there were superheroes and villains, you could do shit like that.
I mean, what isn't that the question?
It's at its simplest form. Would you want to live in a world like that?
Yeah, why not? I mean, with the threat of it, yeah. You don't have to live in a major metropolitan city where 99% of all comic, invasions happen. You can live out in Oklahoma.
How about
But-
Kansas?
Kansas is too.
How'd that work out in the Civil War
New
series?
Zealand.
That
How
was
about-
only in one little small town.
How about Smallville, Kansas?
Smallville. Yeah.
Kansas gets a lot of action. So, Josh is into the
So
city.
yes, I'm in.
Sinister.
Yeah. Well, I think on first look at it, I think for me personally, I do like that the outfits that the female superheroes wear.
Yeah. Every female superhero is
I
stacked
think you sure.
beyond belief.
That's a good point.
But
That's a
but,
great point.
It's a job requirement.
The fact is that you just have different levels. So now the level of heroism is: do I have to save the universe to be accepted as the cool one? Or, I mean, to my cat, I might be a superhero because I have powers he doesn't. So what level does it stop?
I'm pretty sure you are.
You just threw him out of that room, though.
I tell my cat all the time, check it. You've never seen anything
Once
like
we
this.
open this can.
Watch me use my opposable thumb.
I don't listen.
Two legs, bitch.
And going back to what we talked about with Adam earlier was that, being picked last, how horrible would it be to not be Superman, right? I would be the guy that could shrink.
Wait, we're not.
Well, this isn't superpowers we're picking. This is just
would you?
But that would be
you
a
live
very
in the world?
fun conversation.
No, I just know with my luck
Shrinking.
that I would get the bottom's power. So, no, I wouldn't.
Which would be no power. You just
Okay,
Right.
so you
Average
say,
Joe.
well, that's not even saying you have powers. The question was, would you be swayed if there was a chance, like a lottery system, to get powers? Does that sway your decision either way?
He's concerned
But
he's
it's
gonna get the
really
shitty
though,
one.
it's really
Is this like a
would you
genetic
live
thing?
there?
Like you have genetically certain odds that you might end up with this, or is this like, hey, we're gonna pull names out of a hat to see who gets?
Well, I'm pretty
superpowers?
sure
Yeah,
they're
or
gonna-
Tony Stark's father is like
I'm pretty-
creating super people.
I'm pretty sure if your Powerball gets pulled, they take you and they dip you in toxic vat, and you're good to go after
I
that.
watched Smallville, and he lost his powers every week. So, no, I don't want.
Okay, so you don't. Okay, so Sinister doesn't want to live there. Sean Fennel.
Well, if I were to take, so I'm going to take a different approach because no one has yet, but you wouldn't know. So I think it wouldn't matter. You'd be in that world, and it would be the same world that you've always ever been in.
People in Metropolis know.
Well, yeah, but what I'm saying is you would know nothing different, right? You would not know a world
No,
without.
you're getting
supervision.
transported into this world.
That's what I was saying, though. If you had to choose,
If I had to choose, yeah, a nice vacation there would be fun.
once you go back, you can't go.
I guess
Back.
the way I look at it is I feel like it would be.
I
it
look
would
at
be.
myself to introduce.
It would be
myself.
over strenuous having the world or the city or the nation that you live in consistently in strife. I would feel like we'd be at war, in world war
stressful.
all the time. And that seems like it would be really, really difficult to live in a world like that.
That sounds like a recipe for disaster.
Oh.
Clever.
I'm actually laughing at that one.
But I don't think I could deny the chance to have a superpower.
Yeah, God.
Just don't think I could deny that.
You'd be
'cause-
like, did you ever see the Family Guy where they all get superpowers?
Yes,
and Meg
and I get
can
Meg.
only grow her nails.
Wow, it's really sharp. Is that bleeding? No, it's not really.
It's
But
not really,
wow,
it just
though.
scratched me.
Darn.
So Sean, you're in.
Only for a visit.
Yeah, I think I'm in.
No, he's in. He wants. Yeah, he's in. Adam McFarlane.
Boy, it would be
Man.
strenuous though.
I feel like a little bit of pressure having the most time to sit and stew. And
I've yet to answer.
oh damn. Okay, so Jack's got a little more time, but a couple scenarios pop into the mind, and the lure of potentially being a superhero sounds fantastic. So on that alone, not going any deeper, I would say, oh yeah, let's do it. What the hell?
Yeah.
But I do have a couple just questions.
Caveats about the
caveats.
position. I have some questions about the position of superhero.
So let's say I don't win the Powerball and I don't get it dipped in that sweet vat of toxic whatever, and cross my fingers that I don't get the guy that can just sweat a lot, or the guy that
That's the thing. They don't tell you what your power
the
is
guy
going to be.
that kicks ass at making beds. I'm a super bed maker. As long as
It does say superhero. And
I could make-
you be a hero by making beds?
Hey, there's a
Could
hero
you?
in all of us, and you just need the right
I
opportunity.
can be your hero, baby.
Sean said it best right there.
Oh.
But no, I think let's say I don't become a superhero. It would push me to be mediocre. You don't want to be the poor. You don't want to be in the poor, really shitty area of town because that always gets fucked up.
Unless you're Batman.
And you don't want to be really successful because you always get screwed. So it would just push me into. I just kind of want to go unnoticed in life.
Well, I wonder if you were one of the people that didn't have the superpowers, would you put forth the effort to make yourself feel like you were a like Batman?
Oh, hell no.
I'd
has
steal
just
shit.
made all his shit the way he wanted it.
Well, that was
Because
my
you
question.
ain't
Is
got
it
no
super
power.
like
You'd have to
like
kill your parents
supernatural
first.
power?
Because
Is
there
it
must be
supernatural?
super technology.
Or is it like is it like-
Superhero. Let your mind imagine. And
I'd
you're right.
really
You could
like
be
to just-
Elastic Man. Nobody says.
No, but I'm saying like Tony Stark got brought up. Like honestly, I'd love to have just lots of money. That'd be fantastic. That'd be great.
So you'd like to be
So you'd be a
super rich?
supervillain?
Yeah, can I get dipped in the toxic goo and come out with a lot of money? Like, can that happen?
I actually wonder how many of us would be super villains in a world like that.
Jack,
see you pulling
Jack.
that off.
All right, Jack. What's your? So I'll say yes. My answer is
So
yes.
you're in. It's weird. At first I said no, and then you think of the lottery system, and then I said yes, and then I thought about a discussion I had today with one of the guys I work with about the lottery pool for the lottery coming up here in California. I think it's a Powerball. It's like going to be like 290 million, something crazy like that. Okay, the odds for that are something like 78 million to 1, which I'm going to throw it out there in my lifetime. Might not happen.
So you're
I'll
saying
say might.
there's a chance.
Exactly. But that chance to me to live in a society of, and this is the other unfortunate side, I've watched too many movies, read too many comic books to know what happens. Supervillains don't fuck around with robbing banks. Okay, supervillains, like I pointed out earlier to Josh with the Civil War series, nuke Kansas. and then go, oh, my bad. and the superhero can't get to Kansas to save it. And if you're Elastic Man, still wouldn't have been able to stop that
Stretch like a mother effer, though.
So I got to be honest. The glamour side of potentially seeing somebody like Superman flying through the sky above me, or seeing Spider-Man, swinging across the city, doesn't have the same appeal as me being able to, in a civilized society without superheroes or villains, watching a movie about it and not worrying about literally being nuked, radiated, my planet getting sucked into the moon, the 1,000 other comic book scenarios I could throw out there that are fucking horrendous, or me becoming a slave for the rest of my life. I'm not going to win the lottery.
Live life on the edge, bro.
I'm not going to win the lottery. So I need to be the one who says, I'm going to keep it real.
So if anybody
Real
was,
on my planet.
If anybody was doing
Oh,
tallying,
thank God. I'm not the only one that said no.
Yeah, exactly.
you were
Sinister.
about
I'm
to
like,
not
thank
get
you.
called back. Sinister. This was a test.
I'm out of
Majority
Yes.
rules. Majority
Yeah,
rules.
So for anybody, anybody keeping tally, starting, I think it's probably beginning of the calendar month.
Or 40,
this will now be the world where you could be a superhero.
Yeah.
Nerdtastic voted.
I'm pretty sure I would end up a supervillain if I got powers.
That's what I was
think
going to
that
say,
would
too. As
happen.
soon as you brought it up, I knew you were
Because you
thinking
hate
about it.
people too much.
Kind of a super retarded villain.
Yeah.
But he's
I
the
don't-
perfect
I
example.
just-
Do you want him
Wait,
to be your
we all
supervillain?
put our celebrities on pedestals anyway. If you could say anybody has a superhero life, you would say
Oh,
it's celebrities
no.
right now,
And I
right?
fucking
There's a lot
hate
of
celebrities.
crappy celebrities now.
How frustrating would it be to watch Justin Bieber be able to fly and you can't?
You can't even
Right?
kick him in the nuts because you'll break your foot.
Great. In other words,
This would
way
make
to feel
Sean a
Monday
supervillain.
and look like a
Exactly.
loser.
Yeah,
I think,
Or any
Sinister,
of
you
those-
hit the nail on the head.
yeah.
I think we would end up creating more supervillains.
I'm pretty sure I'd be a supervillain.
Yeah, I still vote yes.
Maybe I'd be a mediocre villain. I don't think I'd be a
Chance
supervillain.
to
Like
go.
I wouldn't go all the way towards like complete domination.
You
of
would be
human
the one
race.
that would rob banks.
No, I'd be the one that just fucking knocked people 2 miles because they annoyed me. Like
So
I'd be that guy. I'd be your everyday annoyed villain.
You'd be the jerk of a supervillain.
Yes, I would be like the dickhead.
Annoyed man.
Did you see the movie Sky High? Have you seen the show?
Yes.
I watch it because my kids watch it. But
My favorite movie.
That's what they all say.
Hey,
My
didn't you
favorite
Jack
movie.
worked on
Somebody-
that movie?
somebody
in this room worked
in the
on
show,
that.
there's this part where you
my
walk in
first
and then
movie.
they evaluate whether you're going to be a superhero or a sidekick.
Yes.
So one kid walks in and all his superpower is that he can melt. I know that would be my superpower.
Oh God, no!
Oh, it happened again.
Hey, by the end of the movie, he comes clean and,
See?
and does his part.
That's what I'm saying, Jason. Anybody can be a hero.
Yeah,
you
Jack.
just need the right moment.
Jack worked on that movie. If no
That was
one
my
knows.
very first movie I ever worked on. Loved it. But it still didn't sway me. I don't want to live in a society that... Okay, you all need to go read more comic books to know
Yeah.
what can happen from supervillains.
Yeah, but I've seen enough awesome stuff to know what also can happen.
I do like Josh's thought. I could live out in the sticks and no one would
Yeah,
get to...
no one
But
would.
then why wouldn't you do that in normal world?
Because no one's gonna just randomly nuke.
Exactly.
Josh, where's the advantage?
Well,
Tell
that's
me they
not
did.
necessarily true, but
Yeah. Motivate Jason Carter to get out of LA even more, probably.
So,
it's weird because I feel like we live in a world where supervillains can exist, but superheroes not necessarily. I don't know. I mean, it's just a different. It's a slightly less fantastical version of that world, like that we live in right now. We have people that are trying to do greater good, and people that are trying to do great evil. And I think you would just be pushing the magnitude of that.
Like turning the volume up on
Yeah,
it.
kinda.
Just turn it louder.
Turn it up to 11
The bad would be, the evil would be worse, and the good would be better. And is that what you're saying?
Kinda, yeah.
This one goes to 11.
so we're almost out of time, but I want to know if we could sneak in one more little topic. Mr. Carter, you cool with that? So, and Sinister, this is something that was funny. You were asking me about it. Like yesterday, we play with a guy who's pretty Skyrim addicted. I know Sean's played some Skyrim.
Oh God.
There is a VR system. Mr. Carter, do you want to go into that at all?
I don't know too much about it. I just know some guy took a Kinect, took a head-mounted display, and basically mapped head motion to the movement of the camera.
And it took him 8 days to get from village to village.
Yeah, and he would basically just stomp in place and walk along, and he would swing his arms, and that would swing the sword in Skyrim. Basically, he had created kind of an interactive, let's call it modern-day virtual reality system for playing Skyrim. And it's interesting, but the reason I think it's on the topic list is because, Adam, you saw it. The man looked like an absolute fool.
And this is, I want to say real quick before we dive into even the playing VR. There are so many bugs in the video. Why the hell would you put up a video like that where he's like, menu, close, menu, exit, no, exit menu, close menu, swipe sword. Like, there was probably 2 minutes of it just not working. Like, why would you put up that video?
Like, if you're going to demo
Editing.
the awesome
If
thing
you're
you've
gonna demo
created-
Editing.
edit the video.
It's groundbreaking technology.
Yeah, but he's like,
I have the same argument
it's
with porn.
You want VR porn? Freaking
I want-
Demolition Man, Sandra Bullock. That's where it's going.
Sweet.
So what got me with that video is just because I have played a little bit. I caved in over with a holiday break and played a